Welcome back to Dreamtime Adventures. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of Dr. Zoop's laboratory on Creaky Hill, where Charlie was sitting cross-legged on the floor with his laptop, coding a new program. His blue dragon buddy lounged nearby, watching with curious eyes as Dr. Zoop stirred a bubbling pot of what smelled like the sweetest candy anyone had ever imagined. Almost ready, Dr. Zoop announced, his wild hair looking even wilder than usual as steam rose around him. This will be my finest creation yet, saltwater taffy with a special twist. Ever since Charlie had started learning to code, he'd been visiting Dr. Zoop's laboratory regularly. Despite his history of zany inventions going wrong, Dr. Zoop was actually quite knowledgeable about technology and had become something of a mentor to Charlie. Plus, Rusty and Razzle were always fun company. "What's the special twist?" Charlie asked, looking up from his programming. "It changes flavor based on what you're craving at that moment," Dr. Zoop explained excitedly. "If you want strawberry, it tastes like strawberry. If you want chocolate, it becomes chocolate." Buddy's ears perked up at this. Dragons, as it turned out, had quite the sweet tooth. "Would you like to be my first taste tester, Buddy?" Dr. Zoop offered, noticing the dragon's interest. Over the months, he had grown fond of the gentle blue dragon, who always treated his laboratory equipment with surprising care. Buddy nodded enthusiastically, his sapphire scales shimmering as he moved closer to the candy pot. Dr. Zoop poured some of the taffy mixture onto a cooling tray where it quickly set into shimmering, swirled candies. He offered several pieces to Buddy, who accepted them gratefully. "Careful now, they might still be hot," Dr. Zoop began, but Buddy had already gobbled down 3 pieces at once. For a moment, everything seemed fine. Buddy's eyes lit up at the delicious taste. But then something strange began to happen. A look of confusion crossed the dragon's face, and he glanced down at his foreleg. To everyone's horror, the brilliant blue color was fading from his scales, leaving behind a dull, grayish hue. "Oh no!" Charlie gasped, rushing to his friend's side. "Buddy, your color!" The discoloration was spreading quickly, like blue ink washing away in the rain. In just minutes, Buddy's magnificent sapphire scales had turned almost completely gray. "What's happening to him?" Charlie asked Dr. Zoop, who was frantically flipping through his recipe book. "I don't understand," Dr. Zoop muttered, running his finger down the list of ingredients. "Everything in here should be perfectly harmless." Buddy looked at his reflection in one of Dr. Zoop's shiny metal cabinets and let out a sad whimper. His beautiful blue color, the very thing he was most known for, was gone. "We need help," Charlie decided, pulling out his communication device. "Josephine and Pinky need to get here right away." Within minutes, Josephine and her majestic unicorn Pinky had arrived at the laboratory, out of breath from their rapid journey. "What happened?" Josephine asked, her eyes widening at the sight of the now gray Buddy. Charlie quickly explained about the taffy taste test and the alarming result. While he spoke, Josephine examined Buddy carefully, looking for any signs that he might be sick. Thankfully, apart from his lost color, Buddy seemed to be feeling fine, just very, very sad about his appearance. Dr. Zoop, meanwhile, had been joined by Rusty and Razzle. All 3 were combing through books and ingredient lists, trying to figure out what had gone wrong. "Wait a minute," Rusty said suddenly, his wheels squeaking as he rolled forward with an open book. "Doctor, did you use glimmering mineral powder in your taffy?" "Of course I did," Dr. Zoop confirmed. "It's what gives the taffy its color-changing properties." Razzle's metallic fingers tapped quickly on another book. "According to magical creatures and their peculiarities, dragons have a rare allergic reaction to glimmering mineral powder. It doesn't harm them, but it temporarily drains the color from their scales." "How temporary is temporary?" Charlie asked anxiously. Rusty adjusted his spectacles. "Without treatment, up to 6 months." Buddy let out a distressed roar. 6 months without his beautiful blue color. It was unthinkable. "There must be something we can do sooner," Josephine insisted, patting Buddy's now gray snout comfortingly. Razzle nodded, turning the book so everyone could see. "There is. An antidote can be made using the nectar of the silver moon blossom, a rare flower that only grows on the very top of Mount Whisper." Charlie looked out the window at the mountain looming in the distance. "But Buddy can't fly us there, not when he's feeling so low, and we don't know how the color loss might affect his flying abilities." I can go, Josephine volunteered immediately. Pinky and I can make it up the mountain. It won't be easy, Dr. Zoop warned. Mount Whisper is steep, and the silver moon blossoms only grow in one small meadow at the very peak. How will you know which flowers to pick? Charlie worried. Dr. Zoop quickly sketched a picture of a delicate, star-shaped flower with silvery petals. They look like this, and they give off a slight glow even in daylight. You'll need at least 5 blossoms to make the antidote. I can guide you from here, Charlie added, opening his laptop. Dr. Zoop has mapping software. I'll help you find the safest path up the mountain. And so the rescue mission began. Josephine and Pinky set off toward Mount Whisper, carrying a special communication device that Charlie had programmed, along with collection jars for the precious flowers. Back at the laboratory, Charlie set up a command center with maps of Mount Whisper displayed on several screens. Dr. Zoop, Rusty, and Razzle began preparing the other ingredients needed for the antidote, while Buddy huddled sadly in the corner, watching his gray reflection. Don't worry, Buddy, Charlie assured his friend. We'll have you back to blue in no time. The climb up Mount Whisper proved to be even more challenging than expected. Josephine and Pinky encountered narrow paths, slippery stones, and at one point had to cross a precarious fallen log over a deep chasm. Charlie, Josephine's voice crackled through the communication device. We've reached a fork in the path. Which way should we go? Charlie studied his maps carefully. Take the left path. It's longer but safer. The right path has a rock slide area. Hours passed and the situation at the laboratory grew more concerning. The grayness in Buddy's scales was deepening, taking on an almost transparent quality in some places. We need to hurry, Dr. Zoop said quietly to Charlie. If he loses too much color, it might be harder to restore. Up on the mountain, Josephine and Pinky had nearly reached the summit. We should be close to the meadow, Josephine reported, but the fog is getting thick. We can hardly see where we're going. The moon blossoms glow, Charlie reminded her. Look for a silver light through the fog. Josephine squinted into the swirling mist, and then, there it was, a faint silvery glow just ahead of them. We found it, she exclaimed, guiding Pinky toward the light. They emerged into a small, hidden meadow carpeted with the most beautiful flowers Josephine had ever seen. The silver moon blossoms were even more magical than described, their petals shimmering as if they had captured moonlight itself. Carefully, Josephine collected 8 of the flowers, making sure to leave plenty behind so they would continue to grow. We're heading back down, she told Charlie through the device. We have the moon blossoms. The journey down was faster, but required just as much care. By the time Josephine and Pinky returned to the laboratory, the sun was beginning to set, and Buddy's condition had worsened. His once vibrant scales were now almost see-through in places, like blue glass that had been worn away by the sea. Quickly, Dr. Zoop directed, taking the precious flowers. We need to prepare the antidote right away. Working together, they crushed the moon blossoms into a fine powder, mixed it with purified water, added 3 drops of rainbow essence that Pinky helpfully provided from her horn, and heated the mixture until it turned a deep, vivid blue. It needs to cool slightly, Rusty advised, checking the temperature with a special thermometer. Then Buddy can drink it. Those few minutes of waiting seemed like the longest of Charlie's life. Finally, the antidote was ready. They poured it into a large bowl, and Buddy, looking quite forlorn, took a cautious sip. Then, finding the taste surprisingly pleasant, he drank the entire bowl. At first, nothing happened. Buddy looked at his still gray scales and gave a sad little rumble. Give it time, Dr. Zoop encouraged. The book says it might take a few minutes to work. Then, just as Charlie was beginning to worry the antidote had failed, a tiny spot of blue appeared on Buddy's snout. Slowly, like watercolor seeping across paper, the blue began to spread. Everyone watched in wonder as the brilliant sapphire color returned to Buddy's scales, flowing outward until every inch of him was once again the magnificent blue dragon they all knew and loved. In fact, if anything, his blue seemed even more vibrant than before, with subtle shimmers that caught the light like tiny stars. You're blue again, Charlie cheered, hugging his dragon friend tightly. And you look even more spectacular than ever. Buddy pranced around the laboratory, admiring his reflection from every angle, his happiness evident in every movement. I believe the silver moon blossoms actually enhanced his natural color, Dr. Zoop observed, looking quite pleased despite his taffy experiment having gone awry once again. A happy accident, in the end. I don't think we should give dragons any more taffy, though, Josephine suggested with a smile, to which everyone heartily agreed. As the evening stars began to appear, Charlie, Buddy, Josephine, and Pinky sat together on Dr. Zoop's balcony, enjoying the peaceful end to their adventure. You know, Charlie said thoughtfully, even if Buddy had stayed gray forever, he would still be the same wonderful dragon inside. True, Josephine nodded, but it's nice that we could help him feel like himself again. Everyone deserves to feel comfortable in their own scales or skin. Buddy nuzzled Charlie gratefully, his restored blue scales gleaming in the moonlight. And so ended another magical adventure in the Berg, teaching us that true friends will go to great heights to help each other, and that what makes us special on the outside is worth cherishing. But it's what's inside that matters most of all. Join us next time for more Dreamtime adventures, where friendship, courage, and a little bit of magic make anything possible.